So let's get that started. Just gonna make sure that's down. Okay, guys. So we're gonna be doing a little bit of canning today. We're gonna be doing tomatoes because this was requested. So I've been doing this all weekend, and I've got 7 jars of tomatoes so far, and we're gonna do a few more. So you need a couple of things. Obviously, you need tomatoes, lemon juice. This is just no-name standard lemon juice. I'm using a little bit of minced garlic. I'm using 1 liter mason jars for this, but you could also use 750s or 500s. And a couple of pots, which you can see on the stove there. We've got our big pot that we're going to use for the parboiling and the jarring, and then the little pot for boiling down the tomatoes. So, the first thing you need to do is boil your water. So you can see over here, we've got some steam going. We're starting to boil the water. That's going to get to a boil, and then we're going to jump our tomatoes in here. So what we've done is these are standard tomatoes, Roma Tomatoes, and I've cut an X into the bottom. The reason I've done that is because we're going to do a process called parboiling. Parboiling is when you take the tomatoes and you throw them into boiling water. Then you boil them for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then you immediately dunk them in ice water. And what happens is, if you put that X there, all the skin will peel itself off, and then all you need to do is take it out and remove the skin and throw it in the garbage. This is the easiest way I know to skin tomatoes. It also does half of the boiling process for you, so it's easier to work with after that point. So what we're going to do is, that's probably hot enough now. It's almost boiling, so we're just going to throw our first tomatoes in there. So my clock says it's 3:57. So we're gonna let that go until about 4:03, 4:05-ish. While we're waiting, we'll grab the rest of our tomatoes, because that's only gonna be 1 jar. And we'll get them into our bowl here. So this is basically how I've been measuring the tomatoes. One of these bowls, which is just like, I don't know what size it is, but this size of mixing bowl is like the perfect size for one quart jar of tomatoes. So I'll just put this over here now. Try not to shake the camera too much. Alright, so while that's boiling, I will go grab a finished jar of tomatoes so I can show you guys what it will look like when we're done. Okay. So basically, we've got this jar of tomatoes now. I've got it dated with the date and year that it was finished. It's depressed, which means, it's not feeling good, but at the same time, it'll also stay fresh. You can see I do have a bit of air in here. I don't know if that's good, but I'm probably going to eat them in the next 3 months anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm sure I'll know right away if it's not good or not. So we're just waiting on our tomatoes to boil now. While we're waiting, though, we will grab our pot, which does have a little bit of tomatoes in it. Not much. This is just left over from the last jarring that I've saved. Probably should have started this process a little earlier, but it's okay. So we're just waiting on the tomatoes to be boiled so we can parboil them in our ice water. Ooh, still got some big chunks of ice in there. Maybe I'll just take a second to break up some of these chunks of ice. So, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, but the basic concept is you take your tomatoes, you carve little X into the butt, you throw them in... Hey, Grey Armor. How's it going? So basically, you cut the X, you throw them into boiling water for about 5 minutes. You then submerge them in ice water for a couple minutes, and the skin peels. You then take them out one at a time, peel the rest of the skin off, throw it in the garbage. You cut the area where it would be seeded from the plant off, right off, and then you cut it into cubes, little bits, like about the size that you'd get from a chunk tomato. Once you got that, you throw them into your pot. You throw whatever seasonings you want into them, throw it on the oven for a bit, keep it stirred up, and once they're like not cooked all the way, but they're warm, like they're hot, and everything's got a bit of heat on it, you could then throw it into a jar. The jars also have to be hot. So what we're gonna do is when it comes to that time, you see I have about a third of a thing of water in here. We're gonna be throwing that into the microwave for 2 minutes to warm up the whole jar. Then we throw our tomatoes in the jar. We put 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, mix it up, top it back up with the tomatoes, seal it, and then it goes into the boiling pot, and that's what seals it airtight. Oh, Grey Armor. There's a thing, 1 second. Yay! We have a Discord. If you want to join, feel free. But yes, the jars do need to be sexy. Because, like, look how sexy that jar is. Those sleek, orange, red curves with all sorts of garlic bits and stuff in it. It's gonna be great. Yeah, well, I was holding off because everyone and their fucking mother has a Discord, and I was like, I don't want one because everyone else has one, and I'm posting in too many other Discords, and then I was like, I don't want to say I've been excluded from a number of communities, but I definitely don't feel involved in another number of communities anymore. So I just said fuck it, and I made my own just for us, you know? Also, now that I have emotes, like, you can use the Discord emotes. So, like, you can use the Orcryst Panic or Orcryst Dude. Like, those are available on Discord now. Okay, so we're gonna come over here and trip on our tables. Alright, those aren't bad. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our ice water. Take the tomatoes out one at a time. They're really not that... I guess they're kind of split. Now we're going to give them another 2 or so minutes. And once we get that good and boiled, we're going to put them one at a time in our ice water. What that's going to do is that's going to separate the skin from the tomato a lot easier. That's going to make it really easy to skin and then get processed into the pot, which can go in the oven, which can then go in the jar, and then we're done. Now you can technically also mix... I'm getting an error saying I can only be in 100 guilds or something. Oh god. Pumpkin pie! So... of the world. No, it's okay. So I'll go through the process again. So we've got our tomatoes in the pot. Our tomatoes look just like these ones. They're whole raw tomatoes with an X cut in them. Give me 1 second. Oh, wrong way. There. They're a little lighter now. Okay, so the tomatoes have an X cut in them. Maybe I'll show you over here. Anyways, the X is going to help us skin them. So you throw them into the water. They're boiling. Then once they're done boiling, we throw them into the ice water. What this is going to do is it's going to force the skin to fall off the tomato. So let's check them again. They're a little better now. So we're going to take our ice water. We're just going to take our ladle, get the water out, throw in the ice water. And what's going to happen is the skin's just going to start falling off. Yeah, get in there. This is also going to cool them to the touch, which is kind of a nice added benefit. So you're not searing your fucking fingers off trying to peel the skin off these tomatoes. So we're just taking our ladle, scooping up tomatoes, draining it, and then throwing them into a pot of ice water. And I can already see that the skin is contracting, which is forcing the skin to fall and separate off of the tomato. So we're going to keep letting this water boil because we're going to need it nice and hot for the next round of tomato parboiling. Alright, I think that's it. Yeah, okay, I got all the tomatoes out of there. So now we're going to just let that keep boiling. And we're going to move this onto the counter over here. So I could feel that because the ice water did its job, I could pull one of these out for you now. You can see that the, give me a sec here. There. You can see that the skin is splitting, which means I can now just peel that skin right off. Alright, so let's focus back in here. Okay, so now that our tomatoes have been parboiled, we're going to come over here. We're going to start skinning our tomatoes by just peeling that skin right off. Once it's skinned, we're going to cut the butt off of it, because you got to slice that ass. We're going to start cubing it. So we cut it in half, and then lengthwise, and then depending on the size of the tomato, you want to cut it widthwise 1, 2, or 3 times. Sometimes not at all, then into the pot. Now we're going to repeat this process with all the tomatoes until all of the tomatoes are successfully peeled. Now some of them are going to be smaller than others, so like that one's just going to get quartered instead of 8 or 12. Ah, thank you, Pumpkin Pie. So this is going to be one of the longer, tedious parts. Is just peeling all these tomatoes. Your tomatoes, through the parboiling process, if you've done it right, should still be fairly firm, not mushy. Now, some of them are going to be mushy, and that's okay. Because, honestly, the mushy ones, when you boil them down, they're just going to turn more into a sauce. But even that's fine, because, like, even diced tomatoes need some kind of sauce. Not all the diced tomatoes need to be proper chunks. So this is the messy part anyways. Just peeling that, you can see I'm already starting to get pretty slimy. I'm pretty good at this, so these are going to go relatively fast. which is good because we need to start a new thing of ice water soon. Yesterday, what I was doing to speed up the process is I had a face cloth out, and I was just, when they were done, I was taking them all out and getting the ice water back in there. I should do this, but what I can also do is I've technically bleached and washed the top of this freezer, so I could just put them straight on the freezer if I wanted to. And it's okay to have some... The chunks don't need to be uniform or anything. You can have some bigger chunks. That's totally fine. Okay, so what we're going to do is now that we've got them and they're all cooled, we're going to just take them and we're going to get them onto the counter. Because it's going to be really important to get this ice water back in the freezer to start getting cool again for the next batch. Okay. So now we're gonna get this back into the freezer to cool. If you had ice cubes, definitely throw some of them in there as well. And now we're gonna just get through these as fast as possible. Oh, thank you. It's like I've done 7 jars already and have this down to some sort of process, in theory. So this is actually my first round doing this. I've never done any processing before. I have parboiled tomatoes, but I've always made fresh sauce out of the parboiled tomatoes. So this is the first time I've made a preserve out of them. The goal is gonna, and you also notice I'm not removing the seeds because, I mean, tomato seeds aren't gonna hurt anyone. And it's also a pain in the ass. So I'm not worried about the seeds. No, I mean, I've parboiled tomatoes probably about a half dozen times and made fresh sauces out of them, or lasagna, or fresh sauce that I then turned into lasagna. But the processing as far as the jar is concerned, this is literally going to be my 8th and 9th jar ever. I've never done any sort of processing like this before. But I've handled the knife. That's a thing that's happened. You want to make sure to get the sauce from the cutting board into the pot as well. This one didn't parboil quite as nice because there's a bit of a dark spot. So we're just going to take our knife and slice it a bit, and then peel the rest of the skin off. Always make sure to check your tomatoes for quality. Cut out any black spots, or soft spots are fine. You could do soft spots. But if you see any part starting to get dark or black, definitely slice them out, because you don't want to contaminate the rest of your preserve, from what I've noticed. So like, for instance, I'm only using garlic. I'm not using garlic and onions or garlic and peppers, because the more you add to a preserve, the more you're raising your chance to spoil it faster. Different vegetables will release different chemicals and spoil at different rates. On top of that, adding things like onion or peppers or hot peppers or fresh herbs might, you're just releasing more gases and more chemicals into your jar, and you're increasing the chance that it'll deteriorate faster. Can we get a pemmican stream? I've never tried it. I don't even know what pemmican is. Wait, isn't pemmican like boiled down fat? Like an Inuit thing? I seem to remember pemmican from a book. And no, if that's the case, So once I've got these done, and this pot is full, we're going to throw them onto the oven to boil them down a bit. Oops, there we go. But yeah, so these tomatoes were not from a garden. They were actually, well, I mean, I'm sure they were from a garden at some point. Oh, fair enough. Okay, but it is what I'm thinking it is. And no. However, we might do other cooking streams. I was gonna sell this computer off, and I was gonna give away this hardware. I'm actually using a Logitech C930E, which is a webcam that I used to use. That's what's currently recording the oven. And I'm using the capture card that wasn't working on my main computer that's magically working on my other computer. So I'm at sort of an impasse now, where I could reinstall the drivers for my old capture card on my my better computer and return the new capture card, but at the same time I got a good deal on the capture card I just purchased. It was $189 and it does 1080 60, so it would be good to have eventually. It's also got zero delay, where you can notice that there's a bit of a delay on my current setup. We'll cut that one in half. Alright, so we're almost done processing all these tomatoes. And our garbage can is starting to look really raunchy with all these random skins in it. Some of these I didn't boil enough, but that's okay. Oops, did I not cut off the end? Nope, I'm a dunce. There we go. I'll just quarter those halves. We've got a good sized thing of tomatoes in here now. It's like half full. We'll go a little further. And then we'll get our next bowl in the oven, or on the oven. Boom, 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 boom. Basically, once I think it'll fill up a jar or so, I'll get it on top of the oven and start boiling it down. And then I'll heat up a jar. Hey, Talos! Actually, we're making tomato preserves. We're preserving tomatoes, diced tomatoes, for later consumption. I've never tried this before, so I've been doing this all weekend, practicing. And a couple of the people in my Discord wanted to see how it was done, because there was a slight interest. So we're just working on getting these all preserved. Pretty red. I could show you the garbage in a sec if you want. It was empty before I started the stream. Also, the temperature is starting to get really hot in here. Unfortunately, I cannot take off all my clothes. So that's a shame. Okay, so we got 4 more to do. I'll just get all the tomatoes in here. It's probably gonna be more than what will fit in one jar, and that's okay. Oh, that's a good one. So I've parboiled that, but that's like super firm. Like I could squeeze that and it's not squishing. Nice. Firm Roma tomatoes Roma Tomatoes make the best sauces, guys, by the way. So if you're in the grocery store and you want to try this, and you see a case of tomatoes on sale, or a really good deal on Roma Tomatoes, definitely pick up the Roma Tomatoes. They might also be called sweet plum tomatoes, or just plum tomatoes, depending on your area. But they are, like I said, they are a sweet, firm plum tomato, and they boil down really nice. They don't turn into, like a normal tomato, if you boiled it down, would be super watery and squishy, like a gross, spongy thing. And if you boil a Roma down enough, it will turn into that. However, it generally keeps its body and nice and firm. Fly on the wall. And guys, we have finally made a community Discord, so if you want to join, just type in !Discord. It's a nice open community. You can post that you're a streamer, you can post your whips, anything you want to see me do, or questions about the Dude Crate, or in general, or we even have a streaming FAQ section for those of you who need streaming tech advice, or software advice, or just general tips and tricks, or general advice. Okay, so now we've got a giant pot of diced tomatoes. You can see that looks really awesome and fresh. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna rinse off our spoon, grab our garlic, and we're gonna grab half a teaspoon of garlic right to the pot. Circle the drain, stir that. Drop one on the floor, because that's as per tradition. And onto the stove. We're going to put it on medium temperature, about 4 to 5. And now we're going to get our next tomatoes into the boiling water. And then scar ourselves with searing hot water. They went onto the stove at 422. Which means about, 423. Which means about 427, we're going to need to pull them out. Now I'm going to go grab some paper towel, and we're going to clean up our area a bit, but before that, I'm going to heat up a jar by just putting it in the microwave. You can't see this, but it's about 1/3 full of water. We're going to put it in our microwave for 2 minutes to heat it up. Normally I'd take it to the sink and rinse it all off, but it's okay. We're just gonna that there for a sec. Lift it up, and we're just gonna drip that right into our garbage. You might get some on the floor, but that's okay. We could clean the floor. Let's get some of that juice off our cutting board. Off our knife a little bit, and now we've got a paper towel, so we'll dry all this off. And there we go. So now we're ready for the next batch of tomato slicing, which should be good to go into the ice water in about 3 minutes. While that's happening, guys, we've got our tomatoes on the stove, and we've got our glass jar in the microwave, which is super important because that's going to heat up our jar. So when we're preserving, you gotta put the hot contents into a hot jar. This is a couple of reasons. One, it delays thermal expansion, which means, for those of you who haven't worked with a lot of glass or Pyrex, if you put a cold thing into a hot glass object, you risk the chance of shattering the glass object. So for instance, if you cook a roast beef in a Pyrex glass pan, and then you put that pan into a sink and run cold water on it, your glass Pyrex pan will virtually explode in your sink. I've done it before. Sabat TC made fun of me. It wasn't fun. So we're just going to come over here and give our tomatoes a stir. Make sure we're not burning them. We don't need to heat this too much. We just want to get it to the point where it's starting to boil and there's some steam coming off of it. Okay, so our jar out of the microwave is now hot. You can see the steam at the side of the glass. And that's a good sign. So we're just going to take our water now and we're going to pour it into the boiling water. And we have got this nice hot jar, which I will set over here. The steam is still billowing. Can't really see it, but there is steam billowing off of the jar. So that's fine. I'm going to get our second jar in the microwave, just not started yet, but just so it's ready. And then I can just go over and press start. You killed a plate like that before? Oh, that's a shame. Aliens 3 taught me that lesson. It's an interesting way. Why are you the bit boss? I don't know. Oh, because you subbed. You probably just subbed at the right time. So the way our bit boss works is it's set up to honor Nurgle. Everything is by sevens. So if you donate 1 bit, you get 7 health. If you donate $1, you get 777 health. If you sub, you get 7,777. Now, the thing is, if you kill the bit boss, whatever your health would be is multiplied again then by 7. So if you kill the bit boss with a sub, you have 7,777 hit points minus whatever health you had to take off the boss, then multiply that by 7, which is why you have so many fucking hit points. Just tossing out a little bit of social media there. We now have a Discord server where you could join in the fun and talk with us, give us feedback on the stream, and recommend certain things like what to do for our 1,500 follower marathon, which is coming up, our 50 subscriber goal, which hopefully will happen soon. And this one you probably didn't know, but September is our 5-year sub-anniversary, or stream-anniversary. So we're going to be doing something big for that. I don't know what yet. I'm thinking 24-hour stream, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're just checking here. That's probably fine. Okay, but while that's cooking, we're now going to take out our ice water. We're going to grab our ladle. And we're going to start getting these tomatoes into our ice water. So once again, this is a technique called parboiling, where you cut an X into the bottom of the tomato, boil it for 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the size of the tomatoes, and then instantly taking it from the hot water and submerging it into ice water. What this does is it forces the flesh to expand, but then instantly forces the skin to contract, thus separating it from the skin from the flesh very, very easily. It also has the added effect of half cooking the tomato, which means you don't have to cook it for as long when you get it into the boiling stage. Just fishing out the last individual tomatoes, which I think we've got now. I think we've got all the tomatoes. Now we're going to keep this boiling still, and I'll tell you why in a bit. But anyways, we've got our parboiled tomatoes, and I'm going to go grab more water in this bowl to add to our boiling pot. Big old thing of water to that. gonna grab a couple more paper towels. There we go. Okay, so our tomatoes are starting to heat up and starting to boil now, which is good. So we'll leave those for another few minutes, and we'll start peeling. Obviously, I want a marathon of preserving plums or tomatoes. That would be fantastic. I would actually do a 24-hour cooking stream where I just like did different cooking. And then while the stuff was baking or cooking or whatever, I would then switch over to games or painting minis or both. But all sorts of cool things. I don't want to just be a miniature painter. I want to be primarily a miniature painter. I want to do that for my income as far as getting commissions and my main content. But I still want to be able to play games occasionally. And I still want to be able to do cooking. Cooking is very important to me as a person. I love cooking. Cooking makes me very passionate, more so than miniatures, but I can't make a career out of cooking, so I don't. I mean, I could if I lived in a bigger metropolitan area. Alright, so this is almost done. Our water is now lukewarm, which means that they're probably ready to peel, although like this one's awesome. You see, that one just fell off. But that's what the parboiling does, guys. The parboiling just removes that skin super easily, just like that. No skin at all. So we're just gonna cut off our stem butt. And this one's really awkwardly shaped, so I'm gonna have to cut it pretty uniquely. I'm actually gonna cut this one into 8s. This time we're going to get the tomatoes into this jar right here. But yeah, the parboiling is super important. If you can get good at parboiling tomatoes, the rest of your process is going to be super simple to do. And you don't have to have even chunks, you just get them cut. Very possibly Talos. I also play League of Legends, although I don't play ranked or 5v5 standard anymore. I only play all random, all mid. But it's still good fun every once in a while, and it's a nice break from having to think. I also used to play Final Fantasy 14 and 11. So getting into another MMO might be a thing I would enjoy. And then, of course, our Dungeons and Dragons, which should be next Tuesday. I'm looking forward to BB gunning some more shit. Okay, so our jar is still warm, that's good. What we're gonna do is we've actually got this hot enough that it's ready to process. So we're gonna get this into our jar and we're gonna show you how that's done. So we're gonna grab our ladle. And what we're gonna do, just get this stuff out of the way for a bit. We've got our jar here and we've got our tomatoes. What we're going to do is we're just going to raise the pot up to the level, leaning it against the lid. This is important. And we're going to spoon it in using the pot as a guide. Otherwise, you could also use a large funnel and a rag, which I don't have because I wasn't smart. So I'm using my pot as a guide. And we're just getting these all into here, and this is just the tomatoes with garlic. This has got about a half a teaspoon of garlic in it. So we're gonna get it up to the neck. Then use the spoon to press it down. Now, we're gonna take, now that it's just below the neck. Oh, hey, Host Taco! How's it going? And we're just gonna add approximately 2 tablespoons of the lemon juice to the top of the jar. The lemon juice is gonna be your preservative. Now we're gonna give this a good stir. Very vigorous. Make sure you can see that bottom really moving, because you want to get that lemon juice perforated through the entire jar. Push it down again. And now we're going to take our tomatoes just a little bit, and we're going to fill it up so it's 1/2 inch from the top. Now we're taking our rag, we're going to wipe off the neck of the jar where the lid will attach. I'm sorry, Pumpkin. I would spoil you with the foodstuffs if you were closer. We're going to get our jar in here. Try not to press it down, we won't need to. And then seal it hand tight. You don't want to reef it. This one is now ready to go into the oven. This one's already been done. Okay. So now we do have extra tomatoes in there. We can just crush them down a bit. And then put them on the oven, not on the heat. Now we're going to continue. Well, I guess now we can technically put all the tomatoes directly into the jar. Okay, so now we're going to continue to peel our parboiled tomatoes, throwing the skins into the garbage, cubing them up into good chili chunks, we'll call them, and then get them directly into the pot. Once this one's done, we're going to boil it up, and then get it into the second jar, and then I will show you what to do after that. And then once that's done, we'll probably call it a stream. It's going to be a nice little short stream, about an hour. An hour is all your prep. Depending on the size of jars you do, you need to boil the jars while sealed for 35 to 50 minutes. 50 minutes for your 1 quart or liter jars, which is roughly the same. We're talking milliliters difference, like 1 liquid ounce difference. So a liter and a quart for this stream will be relatively the same measurements. Stop bitching. It's actually a pretty good synonymous measuring tool, where the quart and the liter are so similar that they can be used interchangeably, almost like the yard and the meter, which are close enough that a lot of people just do it anyways, but are obviously different. It's a preserving stream because he's a realist and knows how little free time he will have to cook or shop once fall. Oh god, I just caught that, Talos. We'll see. We'll see. Ooh, that's a nice thick one. Just slice that bitch up. Nice and firm. Cut it like you mean it. And like I said, guys, you want to parboil it to get the skins off, but you don't want to boil the tomato whole and, like, fully cook it. You only want to boil it for about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the temperature of your water and the thickness of the tomatoes. If you boil them too long, they'll just turn into mush, and you want them to be firm and have a shape where, like, cutting a sloppy tomato is not pleasant. Oh, sorry, Taco, we don't have song requests up right now because I don't have access to my bot. I've only got second-hand access to my bot. My bot is open on another computer, but this is a backup computer that I use for cooking streams and miscellaneous bullshittery. So right now we're actually just listening to a soundtrack on YouTube. It is the Transistor soundtrack. For reference, Transistor is a indie game by the makers of Bastion. Very good game. I recommend go check it out. It's also got a really bitchin' soundtrack. Alright guys, we're almost done dicing the last of our tomatoes. I wish you were here too, Pumpkin. But alas, you are not. Alright, we got about 5 more tomatoes to go after this, then we'll get them on the stove. These ones parboiled a lot better than the first because the water was a lot hotter. So hotter water for a shorter amount of time is better than low temperature for a longer amount of time because the low temperature will perforate the tomato a lot more and make it softer. Where the goal of parboiling is to still have it be a firm Roma tomato by the time you're done. Yeah, we could do that. You can also check the VODs. I could show you. I showed the split, and I did show a bit of a peel. Alright, so we got 3 more tomatoes in there. I'll show you the next peel up close. Okay, so give me a second here. We'll just grab this random tomato. And we're just going to step on another bit of tomato, and that's really gross. Okay, so we've got this tomato. This is the split that I was talking about when you cut the X into it. This is really hard. Anyways, and you boil it and you can see that the skin is barely even on that. So you could just like literally peel that off. Right? Then you just pull it there. And that's it. That's the peel of the tomato. Goop, 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 goop. It's like a little heart. That's gross, eh? Okay, so let's get that focus onto the task at hand. I've now got tomato juice on my camera, which is awesome. It's only a $1,200 camera. It needed a drink and a snack. It's a nice part of it, tomato juice. It's like kind of both, right? It's a fruit juice. You guys are awesome. I love you all. The reason I could do shit like this is because you guys are so awesome. Can you imagine if I didn't have you guys here and I was like, I want to do a random cooking stream, and then all my normal miniature painter guys showed up and we're all like, and unfollowed because you're a fucking fruit bat. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not a fruit bat. I'm just batty. And my logic is erratic, because toys in the attic or potato in a jacket. Alright, so this is the last tomato, guys. We're just gonna quarter this one really quick, just there and there. Get it into the pot. And we're good. Just rinse off our hands a little bit in our gross fucking water. Now this is gonna go onto the stove. We're gonna stir this up. Now that's gonna boil up, and once it starts boiling, we'll get it into the jar. This, now that it's big and boiled, can now drop down to about 6. This is gonna reduce the boil out of a raging boil and into like just an incredibly hot water. We don't want to boil it too much. Glass still has a temperature resistance. I guess I could talk right here. Glass still has a temperature resistance, but it's not unbreakable by heat. So if you have it on a raging boil, there is a chance that your bottles might explode because the air and steam generated inside the bottle might cause the thermal expansion to increase and then the physical expansion to increase at the same time, causing your sealed glass jar to go and wasting a whole liter of tomatoes, or quart, for the Yanks at home. So this is one we did yesterday. It's got its date on there, so we did that yesterday, the 3rd of September, 2018. I am Canadian Batman! I am Canadian. By the way, guys, this is the Orcryst Gaming shirt. This isn't the one from Streamlabs. This is the one that we're going to be giving away as a gift every once in a while, or possibly in a Dude Crate. If you're interested in Dude Crate is that. It is a monthly sub-only giveaway to our followers. It is generally a big fucking loot box, traditionally filled with hobby stuff. However, I do have a bunch of stuff on the way that isn't hobby stuff that can go in the non-hobby Dude Crates, which is going to be a t-shirt, a mug, probably some sort of gift card, as well as a bunch of Canadiana snacks. So, coffee crisps, Smarties, maybe some maple syrup candies, or maybe even a small bottle of maple syrup. Kinder Surprise, you know, just all sorts of fun stuff. Would be nice for Halloween decorations. Yeah, until they turned into moldy messes. Okay, so... I wish. This is far too big and heavy and fragile to send in the post. But maybe in the future, there will be some sort of preserve sample size that I will send. Though, I think I'll have to package it a lot better. We're just going to start cleaning up our area, because we're basically done. However, Talos, if you go to Adepticon this year, I might be bringing one, and we might be having some lasagna, or spaghetti dinner, or something. Oh, is that the end of the soundtrack? Oh shit. Am I at music? Nope, good. How much longer do I have? Oh, I'm good. I got like 20 minutes. We'll be done before that. But yeah, these are perfect for making spaghetti sauce, which makes perfect lasagna, or, you know, pasta. You can also make salsa. One thing I really like to do is like a bean dip. So like really good for like chips and things like that, or crisps for you English folk. I like to use like Tostitos tortilla chips, and you mix some of the tomatoes with some cumin and chili powder, along with some ground beef or turkey and some refried beans, which I could also show you guys how to make. I make an awesome homemade refried bean that's super simple. All you need is a slow cooker and a lot of time, but it's cheap as fuck and it tastes amazing. Alright, so these tomatoes are almost ready to go into the jar because we're starting to get a boil here. Watch tomatoes never boil. Okay, they're boiling. That's good. So now we're gonna do the same thing we did before. Actually, I guess I could leave them on for another 2 minutes because I have to heat up my jar. I forgot. Alright. Spoon taps are the best. It's that spoon tap Orcryst cooking ASMR bullshit. Anyways. So right now what I'm doing is I'm microwaving the jar for 2 minutes with a bit of water in it. And what this is doing is heating up the glass jar, so when I put the tomatoes in, it doesn't like explode due to thermal expansion. Because if you add a hot object to a cold glass jar, or a cold object to a hot glass jar, bad things happen. So just be cautious of that. I've ruined a number of Pyrex dishes by putting them in the sink and rinsing them after I was done cooking a roast beef or a dessert of some sort. So just don't do it, because you'll be picking Pyrex up off the floor for months with your feet. So that's bad. Don't do it. Is it disturbing that we are literally watching you boil the skin off of things? No! I think it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Alright, so we're just waiting for our jars now. Let's stir our tomatoes a bit while we're waiting. While this has been going on, this is still incredibly hot and a rolling boil. I am going to add a bit of water to it. We'll just add our tomato water because fuck it, it's already here. Doesn't have to be to the top. In fact, you don't want it to the top because what's going to happen is if this is boiling and filled to the top, when you put your two big fucking 2 liter or 1 liter jars in it, it's going to go over the top and you're going to make a big fucking mess. Don't do it! Alright, so our jars are now done. So we're going to take this out, making sure not to hold it by the part with the water in it, because it's going to be very hot. Pour that in there too. Now we've got our warmed up glass jar. We're going to take our tomatoes and our ladle, just like last time. We're going to get our tomato goop. It's almost a sauce at this point. You can see that it's got quite a bit of liquid to it, but the liquid is nice and thick, and that's okay. Just keep in mind, you don't want to put this directly on spaghetti. It's not seasoned. This is just tomatoes and garlic, which is, if you want that, that's fine. But I'll be adding a little bit of salt to mine when I use it, as well as other spices. So we're just going to fill up our jar using the pan as a guide so we don't make a big fucking mess. You could also get mason jars with bigger lips, or bigger mouths, which would technically work fine. So we're going to get it until it's just below the neck. We'll push it down with a spoon. Take a little bit more out. Okay, so we want it to be right about even to right here, just below the neck. I could actually, give me a second here. So about right here, guys. Now we're going to take our lemon juice, and we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of that. And now we're going to stir that pretty vigorously so that you can see it moving at the bottom and getting that lemon juice throughout the entire jar. Stirring it good for about 10 seconds is probably enough, as long as you're making sure that the bottom is moving as well. Now we're going to take our bowl and drop it into the back so it makes a big fucking mess. Just going to get the excess off there. I'm going to grab some paper towel and clean up that lid a little better. You want to make sure that there's nothing on this lid. So if you can get it spotless, then you're gold. There we go. And that's it. We top it up with a bit more tomatoes until it's at the half-inch mark. That's good. We didn't get any on the lid, so that's good too. We'll place our seal on. Make sure it's level and flush. And then we get our lid on. We're not depressing the popper. You know that popper in your jam where you press it and it depresses everything? We're just going to get it snug with the hand, not too tight, not reefing it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over here, take our lid off. We're going to take our 2 jars of tomatoes, guys, and we're going to place them into our giant vat of very hot, slightly boiling water. So it is now 4:55. We're gonna let this go until about 4:45. with the lid on at about a 6 or a 7 on your stove. It's going to stay in there the whole time at the same temperature. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a bunch of steam, and it's going to fill that jar full of the steam in the air. And then you're going to take it out and you're going to let it cool for 24 hours. At about the 6-hour mark, it'll be cool enough, the steam will dissipate, creating less air in the jar than there was before, and less carbon dioxide or monoxide, just leaving the carbon dioxide. What's going to happen then is the contents, which are pulled out and pushed, the tab at the top, this part here, will actually be puffed all the way out, the opposite of what you thought it was. And then as the steam dissipates, it's going to condense a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, until eventually it pops from up, and it pops all the way down. You'll actually hear the little... And when that happens, you've basically got your seal. You know you've done it right. You haven't fucked it up. Once it cools for the rest of the 24 hours, it'll be cool to the touch, room temperature. But the seal will be all the way depressed, and it won't even try to go up or anything. There's nothing that will get that up other than taking the lid off. Once you've taken the lid off, you've got about the same amount of time as any jar of spaghetti sauce or canned tomatoes. So you've got about, I'd say about 2 weeks to a month to use it, as long as you use it and then put it back in the fridge. You'll definitely want to refrigerate it once it's been opened, but until it's been opened, you can keep it outside of the fridge. Anyways, guys, that's basically all there is to it. You remember when Orc used to eviscerate instant pumpkins? Grey Armor, that's coming. We are going to be doing some pumpkins in October. We're also going to be doing our squigs, but we'll still do 1 or 2 pumpkins for charity. So definitely something to look out for. I'll have a poll coming up soon in our Discord to decide what pumpkins we'll be doing. I'll probably do 1 or 2. And we'll be raising money for Extra Life charity during the pumpkins as per tradition. And then every other stream in October is going to be Orktober. We're going to be working on our squigs. So definitely, if giant homemade squigs is something you might be into, definitely check it out. Anyways, guys, it's been awesome. Thank you for coming. I hope you guys learned something and it was educational for you. If you have any other requests for cooking streams, definitely let me know. If it's something I know how to cook, I will definitely humor you and I will show you how to make it. If it's something I don't know how to make, but it's something I think I could make, I'll just look it up and we'll learn it together, guys. So hopefully you liked what you saw. If you did, hit that follow button. If you really liked what you canned squigs would be amazing. That's what I should do. I should put a big canned squigs on the label. Anyways, if you like what you saw, feel free to follow. If you love what you saw and you want to support the stream, definitely consider a subscription. It doesn't cost you much. This is September as well. We don't have discount subscriptions. However, if you gift a sub, the person who received that gift can re-sub for $1 the following month. So definitely, if you're feeling generous, gift as many subs as you can, guys. It helps immensely. As always, all of our subs get you an entry into the Dude Crate automatically. So a tier 1 sub of $5 gets you 1 ticket, a tier 2 sub of $10 gets you 2 tickets, a tier 3 sub of $25 gets you 6 tickets. If you gift that sub, the person who gave the gift gets the same amount of corresponding tickets. So if you gift a tier 3 sub, you get an additional 6 tickets, guys. As well as the person who gifted it to gets entered into the Dude Crate for whatever their corresponding sub tier is. Definitely follow me on Instagram. Oops. I can type. Instagram, Twitter, and consider purchasing some of our swag on the Streamlabs shop. We got shirts. I made a whole bunch of female shirts too, so if you want a cute little top, definitely check it out. We got a whole selection, little bags and coffee mugs. It's a good place. Anyways, guys, I will be back tomorrow at our normal time at around, I want to say like 11 or 12 Eastern PM. So in the evening, late night. But then this is our last week of that bullshit schedule, and we get to start a new one. So definitely look out for that. Anyways, I'm gonna toss a raid to someone. So let's find out who's online. Shall we? Who do we got? Who do we got? We've got... Who do we got? We got... Oh, Slow Fuse Gaming. We've got Dysartes, Sabat, who are both good supporters of my stream. Jimmy the Brush, who's probably getting off soon, so we won't host Jimmy tonight. Okay, guys, I'm thinking Dysartes or Sabat. Both are painting minis. Do we want Dysartes or do we want Sabat TC? Who do we want to raid, guys? I'll give you 15 seconds to decide, and then we'll toss that raid in there. That's okay. Sabat? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna raid Sabat TC, guys. So raid Sabat TC. Alright, guys. Thank you for coming. I will see you later. I don't have a go away stream thing, so here we go. No imagery, because I need to fix all that, but I'll see you later, guys. Peace. Also, that schedule is a lie!